Welcome to the Gridwise Architecture Council's video library. The following presentation by Axel Pearson is entitled DOE's Energy Skilled Program and the Operations Technology Workforce and was presented to the Gridwise Architecture Council on April 23, 2025. Welcome, Axel.
And with that, we're going to go ahead and kick off our guest speaker presentation. Axel Pearson is a project manager here at Pacific Northwest National Lab. I'm going to let him do his intro so that it gets caught on video. And Axel will work together and make sure that you're okay if you're okay with us recording and publishing your presentation. So go ahead and take it away, Axel. You can steer the screen if you'd like.
Great, thanks. Yes, I will take the screen. I'll keep an eye on the chat too, in case you want to put any questions in there. Let's make sure I can see all. There you are. All right. Thank you, Jamie, and the rest of the Action Council, Architecture Council, sorry. I actually don't know a whole lot about your group, and Jamie invited me yesterday to speak to you about workforce development. I work pretty closely with Ron Bernstein on this, a piece of this effort, and that is the operations technology piece, and I think that is relevant to what all of you do. So I'm going to tell you about the Energy Skilled Program, which is a workforce development program that DOE runs, and then how we're expanding that into the operations technology workforce. I guess I should spend a little more time introducing myself. As Jamie said, I'm Axel Pearson. I'm a project manager. My technology of choice is lighting. I have spent probably 10 or 12 years focused on solid state lighting and advanced lighting controls. I run a program called the Integrated Lighting Campaign that is going through, like many things related to DOE, that is going through a transition right now. So if you go and search Integrated Lighting Campaign, I think our website is still up, but if you happen to do that because you're interested in lighting, know that there are some changes coming there. And so that's about half of my work. The other half is workforce development, focused on this energy skilled program. So I'll tell you about that in more detail. But anyway, thanks again for having me. I'm excited to talk to you about this, and I'll go ahead and dive in. Okay, so I'm going to tell you about the energy skilled program as a whole, kind of a broad overview. There are some different recognition pathways, so different job types that we consider here with energy skilled. There's a partnership with Google that adds some significant value to participating in this program. I'll go into more detail. It is mostly residentially focused right now, so we are expanding into commercial buildings. And again, the focus that I'll talk a little bit about is operations technology, and hopefully get some feedback from you all. I think you are a very good group, and to provide us some input. And again, I've been working with Ron Bernstein there, and so stakeholder input is a pretty key part of the process, as I'll talk about. And I hope we have some time for discussion at the end, Q&A. Yeah, so that's what we're looking at for the next 15 or 20 minutes or so. Okay, so energy skilled broadly addresses skill gaps in the energy workforce. So pretty much buildings is our focus right now, residential and commercial buildings, but we may be expanding beyond that. You can see that we have, I think, 4 or 5 kind of job areas right now. The program's been around for 2 years, so it's still pretty young, but we do want to expand it. So there are 3 main areas of energy skilled. There's the recognition program. That's probably the first and kind of foremost exciting part of energy skilled. There is training content on the Building Science Education Solutions Center. That's been around for a while, and that's just been an educational resource that DOE has hosted for some time, and we're leveraging that training content through the recognition program. I'll explain more about that in a bit. Then there is some skill standards that are published through the program, and that's about half of the recognition category or the recognition piece. And again, I'll talk about that a little bit more. I do want to show you, I'm just going to drag another window over here and just show you our website. So if you Google Energy Skilled, you may come up to one of two pages. We exist in two places right now. I know that's not super clear, but here we are. One is a P&L page, and that shows you the current recognition categories listed here. This is where, if you were a training or credentialing provider, this is where you would look for recognition. This tells you how to apply for recognition. So just to show you, that's there. I'll drop this link in the chat here. That's the P&L page. You might also come up with this BSESC, Building Science Education Solution Center. This is where you can find recognized programs. So say you are interested, and we'll talk more about the various programs. Say you're interested in heat pump programs, you can click, apology.pnnl.gov. I have not seen that yet. I hope that's not too serious. Let's go to heat pump water heater programs. Oh, that one doesn't want to load either. Well, that's news to me. Let's just go. Yay, it loaded. Okay, here we are. Very slowly. So these, what I want to show here, well, okay, there we are. These are some recognized programs. So yeah, I'll also drop this in the chat. Hopefully this link works for you if you want to peruse that. Okay, now back to the presentation here. Okay, so what is recognition? So it is different from a credential. We are not recognizing individuals. We are recognizing training and or credentialing programs that align with DOE goals. So some of the programs that I just showed offer some type of training or apprenticeship or a credential. If they teach skills that align with our published skill standards, with DOE's published skills standards, they are eligible for recognition. So if they offer a training that aligns with our heat pump water heater installation, they can say, hey, we align with what you have published as a skill standard, and I can show you what those look like. Then we want to be recognized. It's a free program, and you get to use this Energy Skilled badge. You get to show up on Google, and I'm going to cover that in a little bit. Say they offer a program that is not quite aligned and they need a little help getting there. That's where that Building Science Education Solution Center comes in. And so if the programs, again, need a little bit of content, say they're not covering some aspect of a heat pump water heater installation, and we have a training on that page, I'm going to flash back to my browser here, look at this page. You can see, let's scroll down to some heat pump water heater content. So I'm going to click on the installation page here.
Axel?
Yes.
A quick question. So this is primarily focused on energy skills related to buildings? Is that correct?
For now, yes. For now, okay. For buildings,
Thanks
yes. But we do want to expand, and so. Boy, these pages are moving slowly. Must be something happening. Okay, we won't wait for that. If it loads, I'll pull it back. But so there's educational content. This is freely available. You don't have to be involved with recognition to use this content here. Okay, so yes, we are recognizing training and credentialing programs. And it says prepare workers for residential energy efficiency careers. I added in this, for now, we are expanding into commercial, but we also want to tackle other areas. We intentionally named it pretty broadly energy skilled. So if there's if there's energy related careers in some type of grid and transmission application, that's something we'd like to consider in the future. On the left-hand side of the screen here, these are our current categories. So there's three main categories: HVAC, plumbing, and energy assessments. Again, currently residentially focused. So when we say heat pump installation here, we're talking about a residential style central or ductless heat pump installation. Comfort advising is kind of like sales, like someone that comes into your house and assesses with the customer and sizes the system. As we were trying to look at heat pump water heater installation, I looked over on my other screen. Here's what that page looks like. So it did end up loading heat pump water heater installation. There's some teaching materials here. Again, they are geared towards educators. So an individual looking to learn about this certainly can use this information, but it is geared towards someone teaching, providing a training on heat pump water heat installation. So there's problem sets, lecture notes, presentations they can use. Again, all freely available content for educators. And then there are energy assessments for both single family and multifamily homes. So again, residentially focused. We have some categories that are under development, more residential focused areas, but also commercial HVAC and operations technology, both commercial building focused. And I'll talk a little bit more about those in a minute. Okay. We are currently at 50 programs. So I said, I think this got launched New Year-ish 2024. So we are in our second year of the program and already have 50 training or credentialing programs recognized. I have a table of just the recent recognitions here. So Pacific Gas and Electric, if you're familiar with the IOU in California, their manufacturer partners, their union partners here, a couple of unions here, and local nonprofits like Center for Energy Environment out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. They have a training. So just to give you a kind of broad range idea of some of the programs that are submitting for recognition under this program. Okay, so I mentioned there is a partnership with Google, and this you can probably imagine very useful for the residential side of things. If you Google, say, first degree refrigeration out of El Paso, Texas, Google now highlights they are a heat pump installation recognized by the U.S. Department of Energy. If you hover over that little information eye, it kind of gives you a little bit more information. It shows our logo. At least one technician has earned a recognized credential. So again, it doesn't say which one, I don't believe, but it just says they were trained by a recognized credential. So that adds and lends some credibility, lends DOE's credibility to the organization, saying, okay, this person, at least one technician, and again, you might think, well, how am I sure that I get that technician on my job? That's not quite there yet, but maybe it'll in the future. I think each of these examples that we pulled have just one technician, but maybe it shows 10 technicians or something like that in the future. But so that was a nice partnership that we worked with Google, and they leveraged their ability to show you search results that have more recognition or something like that. So we're still figuring out how this fits in with commercial. We know that if you're a commercial building, you may not be Googling, heat pump near me, but you might. So we're going to figure out how that works. I think there's always some value add to have the largest search engine promoting your company's name. So okay. So this is what we're proposing for commercial energy skilled. This is just another look at kind of the structure of energy skilled. So you can see that the categories with the solid boxes around them, we talked about heat pump installation, comfort advising. The dotted lines are planned, working on HVAC HVAC commissioning, and we have our proposed, and we're planning on this too, but I've highlighted them here because they're more of what I work on: commercial HVAC service and maintenance, and the operations technology. And this is it's sitting in its own category now. We haven't finalized what the actual job scope is. That's something that maybe you could provide some input on. Operations technology is the higher level category, but what do we call this job scope? So still working on that. And then we have a couple others. So hopefully this kind of flow chart expands quite a bit, and we can continue to build out this program and capture more of the workforce and raise the bar for some of the trainings that are offered out there. I think I'm at a little bit of a stopping point before we get into a little more detail. Any questions or comments so far? Okay. So,
Wait,
yeah,
I got one
please.
for you. So, yeah, under operations technology, I could imagine one of the things coming under that scope is grid integration and skills around both the technology as well as the operations of integrating with local distribution grid services, for example.
Yes, thank you. We'll take a look at some of the skills, and that's what Ron Bernstein has been helping us with, is identifying the skills that someone that is in the area of operations technology should be. But, and I know, I imagine that you all know that one of the key priorities from the new administration and Secretary Wright of the newly appointed DOE secretary is secure and resilient grid. And so if we can touch on those points and integrate grid integration into the skill set, that's a plus for us too. So, and that is definitely a piece. So, you know, coming from a lighting background, I often think about integrating lighting controls and HVAC controls or something like that, where the HVAC can respond to occupancy signals from the lighting system. But you're definitely right. There is also integration inter-building and between the building and grid, and I think that's an important piece.
Yeah, so that really is a key piece of extending resiliency is the integration and cooperative management of distributed energy resources like intelligent buildings and residential technologies.
Yes. Appreciate that. Yeah. Okay. So I want to tell you is just that, you know, I found this interesting because I really didn't know about OT or operations technology before this project went underway. And so this is a summary of my work from last year. So the story kind of goes, the residential side of DOE, the residential buildings integration team, was seeing great success launching this program last year. It really took off. As you saw, 50 programs in about a year is pretty impressive. The commercial buildings team came to me as the workforce development person on the commercial side, and they said, we want to add to this program. We want to share some of the success. I think this will work for us too. I said, great, let's do it. What should we focus on? And they said, well, I don't know. Go out and ask, the industry. I said, okay. So we did a lot of research, outreach. We held workshops. We interviewed over 30 experts in the industry. We held focused workshops on 2 of the jobs that we ended up narrowing down. You can see that workshop 2 was focused on HVAC, and workshop 3 was operations technology. But what I found interesting here was that operations technology only got its name a little bit later, because I was, talking to people, doing these interviews, holding workshops, both formal and informal interviews. So I just had a lot of conversations at events, and maybe it was the people that I was talking to, but they're kind of saying, well, there's this IT aspect of buildings. It's like, how do we make these buildings smart and communicate to each other? And I said, okay, is it like buildings IT? And they said, no, it's not IT. It's more like, it's operations focused. Anyway, so, like I said, I kind of only learned later in the process that this is operations technology, and that helped us really define this job scope. And then, I think I heard Ron Bernstein speak at some conference or another and heard folks, oh, you should talk to Ron Bernstein. He knows operations technology. Sure enough, he's been doing it for a long time. So we partnered up with him to focus on operations technology. But really, it was like, it kind of, for me, it came a little bit organically that people are saying, well, HVAC is important. Electricians are important, but this operations technology is going to be really important. This is where you should focus. And so that was pretty exciting for me to kind of learn about a new area and really hear from people that maybe couldn't explain it or use that term, but they knew it was something we should focus on. So just to tell you the story of how we landed on operations technology, we had this workshop, and that was my first question. I said, can we please define this term? And we kind of noodled on this for a while, but landed on this definition. Professionals that work with networks and technology used for managing the physical infrastructure of a building or industrial facility. OT is technology that helps the building operate, as opposed to IT, which help people do their work in the building. And so now, hearing one of the comments that we've already talked about here, maybe we can add to this: managing the physical infrastructure of a building or facility with, and managing the interaction with the grid, or something to include there.
The term OT is well established on the grid side of the meter for many years, and we often refer to IT, OT as being two different parts of technology, where the OT is more the controls side of the physical grid management. And what's happening over the past couple of decades is more and more integration with IT to give that more intelligence on the OT side.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. So there's a lot here. I intentionally made this small. I don't think we have time to go through each one of these, but if you're interested, we can work together and have a call. What I did make a little bit bigger is the categories on the left. And so this is something that Ron helped us put together. Ron, these are the broad categories. The work that Ron did was created something like 200 and some odd separate skills, and we kind of decided, okay, this is a lot of what's for at least the intent of the program. We need to trim this down, and there's actually 2 pages here. So I split these in half to give you an idea of what we're looking at, but just look at the broad categories. So someone in OT has to have communication skills, some project management, know about the OT technology. I think the OT project focus, contracting, building automation system architecture, control system design, and then I won't read all of these, but you can see that we did focus pretty broadly here, and what we have now is kind of what we term like a job task analysis. This is all the skills and focus and competency that one should know to work on operations technology. And you all probably understand this is a pretty interdisciplinary focus. You need to know a lot about a lot of things. And so it is certainly an advanced career path. And not to say that heat pump installation and heat pump water installation, water heater installation is not an advanced career path, but this takes on another level. And so we're at the phase now of still trimming this down, because all of these impact the energy efficient operation of a building and the energy efficient operation of the grid. And so what we're working through now is trying to pare these down. What of these skills are critical for trainings and credentials to test on that would allow them to be recognized by the Department of Energy? So you can tell this is still a work in progress, but this is where we're at right now. I see some chats going on, and I said I would keep an eye over here, but not too much. Okay, just see a couple. I'd like to invite Ron Bernstein. If you have anything more to add here on the skills, I'd welcome that. Otherwise, I think my call to action here, I'm pretty sure that's my last slide before we get into some discussion. But if you're interested in taking a closer look at that, if you have interest on providing input, we would love to have a call with you one-on-one and kind of talk through these. I do have, I've just went through this for the other commercial job scope, which is HVAC service and maintenance. And there's a feedback form that I create that we send to folks, and they can kind of comment on each one and either wordsmith it or say, you know, this actually isn't that important, but you should add this kind of thing. So that's
Axel, before you turn it over to Ron,
sure.
I think Jeff Katz in the chat that GSA related to federal buildings, I think that's a question he has for you.
Mm-hmm. So we did work a little bit with GSA and more on their just probably more typical commercial buildings, but no military bases. But I can imagine that's a big part of resilience. You say OT tends to include actual power engineering skills as well as I&C. Can you define I&C?
Industrial and commercial.
Thank you. Yeah, C and I. Gotcha.
Yeah, and yeah, certainly in the power grid, power engineering skills fall within that. But you know, where you are, OT is, I think, more referring to primarily the controls technology for the physical plant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would, now that I've needed to unmute myself, I would call it instrumentation and controls.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Okay.
But somebody beat me to it. Yeah. But
yeah.
as someone who worked at ABB before IBM, that's what I&C meant.
Okay.
So SCADA systems, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I guess the question that or the comment I would make, Ambrosio, that these skills, if they're talking about water heater installations and things, maybe not power engineering skills, but definitely electrical skills, right? And understanding loads, panels, same types of things at a lower scale than what you're talking about. But there's a wide slew of different skills here. So, Chairman Bernstein, did you have some comments that you wanted to make?
Yeah, I did. So, you know, this was quite a bit of work to get the underlying, what we're referring to as the job task analysis. Actually, you don't happen to have that spreadsheet handy, do you?
I sure do.
And part of this is not necessarily just coming up with the skill sets, but also identifying who the skill set is identified for. Who's the stakeholder? So we started off with really a job analysis from various stakeholders, such as owners, contractors, installers, and equipment manufacturers, looking at their job postings on various job sites. What skills were they looking for when they did those job sites? And then we started taking that and breaking it down into, what kinds of jobs are they looking for? From basic, intermediate, advanced. And then we have this bucket here in column I of energy skills, which is very DOE focused. And so that's sort of how we went backwards from the broader buckets into this really a JTI. And so if you look at it here in column B, probably can't read all of that, but these are the individual tasks that show up when we're looking at all of the different buckets. Now, it's far more than what we wanted to do for this project, but there is a complete scope here that covers pretty much anything you would want to do. In Axel's request for support, I'm personally looking for some help in identifying what's missing. I heard a couple of things already that we'll add that relate to building to grid OT capabilities, but we want to make sure that we didn't miss something that's critical for an educational institution that is trying to get this credential or acknowledgement. What skills are we missing that they should consider including in their course curriculum? So if you're interested in helping with that, I would do a one-on-one with you, or maybe Axel and I and the rest of the project team. I would be very interested in hearing from you. You can drop me a message or just send something in the text here. Probably do a half an hour to 45-minute call, and just let me know. Thanks.
So Axel, I'm curious, you said your intent is to move also into the commercial building space. What's the time frame or time horizon, or I mean, not necessarily the funding level, but the interest from DOE to get that accomplished?
The interest is definitely there, and we were moving quite quickly. We had a great year last year of moving forward with a lot of the stakeholder engagement. It has slowed down a little bit. We had planned to try to release this summer, and I think that's been pushed back. I think we can communicate the value of workforce development, and I think you said it at the beginning of the call, Jamie, that workforce development is pretty broadly applicable to many areas, especially in the energy workforce. And we know that creating good, well-paying, skilled jobs that don't necessarily need a college degree is hard to argue with, and I hope we can make that argument to the new administration to justify this work. Right now, it's a little bit hanging in the balance. So, but hopefully we can continue and move forward. Fortunately, we're able to do some of this and kind of still create the pathways. And as soon as we get the green light, we can go ahead and publish and start accepting submissions.
Cool. Okay, great. Stephen, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was just wondering, on your spreadsheet, did you include the DOL NASIC codes to be able to help identify from the DOL?
Those are not included.
Okay, so that's a critical element that should be added.
Okay. Thank you.
Stephen, you want to put a link to a summary about that in the chat?
Yeah, I could try and pull it up right now. I'm on my
Thank you.
phone, so.
Yeah, if you can. If not, maybe email us later. Mark, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I don't know what those are, so if you've got a link or something, I'd look into it. Mark Costa?
Yeah, it's how the actual DOL uses it to validate, what kind of focus your company is in and all that good jazz.
I am familiar with that, and I think I used it on the HVAC service and maintenance, as that's a pretty broad category, certainly categorized by DOL operations technology. If you're confident it's in there, I imagine it will be. I don't know if it's covered there, but.
Mark Costa,
That's Department of Labor.
Yeah, Department of Labor and Industry also has some classifications. So, I mean, this is great. I just had a couple questions. One is, is there like a companion, job outlook forecast that goes with the classifications? And I ask because from a policy standpoint, it's kind of helpful to communicate what we're trying to do with grid architecture and policy. So if we can connect the skills and classifications to the outlook, that helps from that standpoint. But it also helps from the actual workforce development standpoint, right? The community college level and others. So do you have any information about that, or is that on the roadmap?
So the Bureau of Labor Statistics publishes those outlooks, and we certainly, again, have that for HVAC technicians, service and maintenance professionals, installers, and that type of thing. Again, I didn't find much on operations technology, but as I alluded to, it's known by different things, and I think there might be controls engineers on there, and are these really controls engineers, or are they someone else? And so I don't know if I found job outlooks published, at least by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, that covers this job category, but and we don't have plans to look into that quite yet, but I agree that's an important piece of communicating the importance of the jobs.
Great. Hey, Ron, I'll just take this as a instead of typing it out. There's some connections we have in California, statewide at the chancellor's office. So they're really engaged in this. So maybe if there's some holes in that, it'd be worth exploring with them. Because, right, they have to get way ahead of curriculum before the workforce is needed. So they may have already done some of that internally and could be helpful.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, if you have contacts, just send them over. All right, back to you, Jamie.
We're gonna move on now. Thank you so much, Axel. Here's his bio on the screen. If you want to reach out to him, there's a quick and easy way to guess what his email address is, but I'll let him put it in the chat if he feels inclined.
Yes, it's there. Thank you, Jamie. Thanks all.
Thanks, Axel, for that informative presentation. For more information about the GridWise Architecture Council, please see our website at gridwiseac.org. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel at the site listed. Thank you.